Miss Andrews, are you okay?
Definitely not. I'm actress Valerie Allen, and I play Amy Andrews in the new film, The Empty Space.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
A violent attack leaves her without her boyfriend, her home, her sense of self. Amy, like so many of us, suffers from mental illness. As she tries to get her life back together, she's haunted by terrifying visions that may or may not be real. Empty Space goes beyond the slasher and takes you deep into the void. We hope you join us as our film premieres on streaming. We also hope that not only are you frightened, but you gain some insight into a serious problem that affects so many people, including the filmmakers.
I know how it sounds. What if it's real?
The Empty Space, a terrifying new vision from director Andrew Hara.
What's up? Welcome to the Arby's squad. Tell us what your favorite Arby's order is in the comments. What's up, guys? It's me, Andrew Hara. We're still on Empty Space. We're not quite into October yet. We'll be doing Halloween stuff. But anyway, this week we did a Williams pick. Also, Empty Space is on YouTube. Go watch it. William,
Tubi.
tell us what.
Not YouTube.
Tubi.
The trailer's on YouTube.
I mean, it's on.
Unless
The trailer's on YouTube.
someone could rip it and put it on YouTube, but
No, don't do that,
I'll
guys.
do that this afternoon.
The last one's has a YouTube rip. It has like 50,000 views.
Rip the rest of them. People want that shit for free.
I'm not making that money.
I know, well, you're getting that popularity.
And also, you want to know the worst part? One time I needed a screenshot from Last Days, and I just got it from that YouTube rip of my movie.
Nice. Even you're ripping yourself off.
I know. I was like, it's here, bro. It's so convenient. I understand. I was on their site for a little bit. Anyway, this week we did a Williams pick. He picked Pandorum from 2009. It stars Ben Foster. It stars Dennis Quaid. It stars star of Never Back Down, Gam Gadot.
oh yeah, I couldn't say his name either. I'm with you on that one.
Is that
It's not.
who's that? Who are you saying?
He's a super like white guy.
He's the blonde. He is also the boyfriend in The Unborn. He's usually a preppy villain. The guy with blonde hair.
Yeah, the guy who came out of the wires.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Cam Gigantek.
Cam Gajunk. And it was directed by Christian Alvart, who also directed The Island, Dogs of Berlin. I don't know why I'm doing this. We usually never do this. Anyway, William, why did you pick Pandora? Why did you take us down to Pandora?
Well, some behind the scenes, there has been some discussion amongst the three of us with some interest in this film, so I thought it was just kind of time to bite the bullet. At the same time, It is kind of a rare movie, which is a horror in space, which whenever there's one of those, you got to catch it. And I remember watching this when it first came out. I actually got it from Redbox. And I remember thinking it was like okay, but I think I was like doing something else at the time, which I know I say that all the time on this podcast. It's always true. But so I wanted to rewatch it again, and I will say that I remember it being like okay, but fuck man, this movie tore my face off today. It was so good. I was really
I kind of feel like I was texting Josh at this movie. I was like, oh, this movie sucks. So, like I remember it being way better. But then it kept going, and I was like, "Oh, never mind." I changed my mind.
Right, it starts off kind of just like so whatever, and then like all of a sudden you're like like crazy psychedelic spaceship areas, and you're like, "What the fuck is this?"
It almost like it almost is like, and I think like structurally that's like the biggest problem because it's like there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Every 10 to 20 minutes, you're like, wait, this isn't going anywhere. You're like, oh no, okay, they did do this. They changed it up. So
it's true. There are so many little problems throughout the movie that like it is kind of trash, but like there's so much good stuff that you're like, okay.
Josh, why don't you tell us what this movie's about?
Well,
and if it involves something that also happens in Sunshine, you can't say it.
Well, okay, now I was gonna say. Horror movie in space, you think they're going to be ripping off Alien, but no, they're ripping off The Descent. It's The Descent in space.
essentially.
The descent in space, the ascent. That's what I would have called it.
Yes.
If I wanted people to know I was ripping off another movie, I guess.
Yeah, even the monsters, like the way they show like their actions, like it works in a cave, but like in a spaceship and like big warehouse rooms, it's like you can clearly see them. Like you don't need to chop up their
Yeah.
visuals. Like
Yeah, and that it's almost like the editing. It's like it doesn't need to be this choppy, you know.
it really works sometimes, but like there are moments in like scenes where they'll just like cut out conversations, and it's like they must have just not had enough footage for some of the scenes. They were just like,
Or
get us out of here.
like you could almost see like you're like, oh, this would have been a really cool wide, like an alien style wide of like the whole ship. You're like, oh, they probably didn't have the whole ship during this part because they probably just had this one part of a metal wall, you know.
They were making it as they.
So what this movie is actually about is that the Earth is dead.
Mhm.
It's run out of resources. So send a bunch of people in this ship called Pandorum to a planet. Also, the planet might also be called Pandorum. One of them is called Pandorum, and so they're gonna go like repopulate, and other people are supposed to follow. But at the very beginning, you find out that that's it. Everyone else is dead, and then Ben Foster and Dennis Quaid wake up, and they're all alone in the ship. But they shouldn't be. Like they're all workers and they're working in shifts, but they should have been relieved, and they're not relieved. So they're like, what the fuck? And then they don't have any memory. And so they have to like figure it out. And then also later there's cannibals. It gets better because cannibals show up.
Please.
Josh, what did you think of Pandorum?
I did like it. We actually the last time I saw this was in theaters. I assume with you, probably. Why?
think so.
Why else would I have seen this in theaters? But, no, like I said, it is frustrating because you're almost like, oh, I could see like this is really a really cool scene, but then like, why does this scene happen after it? Stuff like that. Part of the issue is because I was like, oh yeah, isn't Pandorum the planet they're trying to get to? But no, the ship is the Elysium, the planet is Tanis, and Pandorum is the brain sickness you get from like being in hypersleep. But they don't introduce the brain sickness until like 50 minutes into the movie. You're like, I feel like this should have happened at the beginning if you want the movie to be titled that or about that. You know, it's very
Right.
it's weird. It's frustrating where it's like you could have just moved stuff around and it would have like flowed a lot better, you know?
Well, you know what I like about this movie is that it kind of does what like my favorite TV shows do, where like it feels very lived in. Everyone has their own like little story that they're doing, and it might be completely removed from anyone else's story, but if they clash, like they clash, and like sometimes it doesn't mean anything, and sometimes they try to kill you, and so I thought that was super cool. Like that just kept happening. You know?
Yeah, everyone kind of has like because I know this is exactly what the movie does. It's like it's so confusing. Like, why are these two random other people fighting each other? Like Ben Foster is like going through the ship trying to like restart this generator, and he runs into two people, and for some reason they're fighting each other, and no one seems like alarmed or trying to figure out what's going on. And like the movie's just okay with you being confused, but to a point where it's like you don't know like it's hard to care, but there's something else that's happening that gives it like an X factor of like I will still watch this because the ship.
Yeah, you want to know. You're like, where is this leading to? I did find it funny because this movie has, there's like four or five other people kind of who are like kind of in and out, and one of them is Norman Reedus, and he's the guy who dies with like he says one line and dies immediately to show you like how bad things are. But it's like, man, if this was like made 2 years later, he would have been like the star because he like blew up immediately after this movie came out. So,
well, actually, that's a trivia because Norman Reedus was in this director's previous movie, and so he was like, "Oh, dude, I'll do anything, even if I just have one line." And so that's how.
No, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
A lot of directors like that guy.
Yeah. Or like how Ryan Johnson always tries to get the cast of Brick to like cameo in the movie, you know, like they're in Star Wars and then like Knives Out and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's
it's good to help your friends.
It is.
Yeah,
it truly is.
So Josh is going to be in
every movie.
Why don't you share some of that Tubi money you got? Where's my $12 cut?
Yeah,
you know.
When we make $12 in what I'm expecting to be 2025, you for sure.
I'm gonna be getting the SAG style like royalty checks from Netflix for 13 cents every like year.
It's like the WGA is they're striking right now, and I'm just like that meme where it's like, you guys are getting paid. Anyway, back to Pandora. But like, because I mean, it almost feels like Mad Max-ish.
Yeah.
Like I kind of feel like on Earth is Mad Max, and this is what's happening in space. Because everyone's kind of out for themselves. Everything's dirty and gross. You know, even like getting out of the tube, you're like covered with dead skin.
Right.
It's like disgusting.
And
you
it
know?
felt like that movie, The City of Lost Children, kind of. Did you guys ever see that
Yeah,
movie?
yeah.
It had like a very
Yeah.
French
Yeah.
kind of like atmosphere, like everything's kind of cartoony, but also like horrific. It was, and it
Yeah,
had like that same fast forward thing they did in Mad Max too. Like whenever
yeah.
that,
And I think what ended up winning me over was how much the writing was like William kind of said, and it works to its detriment end, but I saw it as a positive where it's like they're okay with you being kind of confused as to what's going on. Like I think that they're okay almost too often.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I like that they have like what ends up happening is that they meet these zombie cannibals, and they do look like the thing from. It was like he watched a Descent. He's like, well, we can't do that
yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's like copying. And then they like saw Ghost of Mars, and they're like, oh, just do both. And
Yeah.
but then you find out that at the very end, you find out that like there was a machine on board the ship that was supposed to help terraform the planet they got to make it easier to live. But instead of doing that, it terraformed the people to the ship, and it made them into weird goblin monsters with
Super
razor
strong.
sharp teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
mutants.
Like
Yeah, it's
it's like that's so much explanation for
I
monsters.
know, man. This movie has so much. This movie could have been like an interesting book, but they made it like
Yeah.
a weird slasher.
I was gonna say this almost felt like you watch this thinking it was based on a horror game,
Yeah.
because it almost has that video game feel of like, you're like
Here,
finding
there.
audio logs in the hallways and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I would say like it's funny because, and I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I was giving him more details about Noah's character in the empty space and what I think that it really is. And even like talking about it, I was like, I would never put this in the movie because it's way too complicated and it's not needed and it's kind of dumb. So there's no reason.
Yeah.
And it's like Pandorum was like, nah, it needs to be in there, bro.
Yeah. We got nothing else.
I was like, you're winning me over with your fucking
Guy, we're at 54 minutes and fuck.
yeah, because it's like they love it so much. Like there's so much love put into every shot and frame and like the costume design and it's like, oh, you guys got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It
did
looked
it.
great.
You're having a time.
Yeah. Story fucking pointless.
Like 3 different characters have twist endings. which
Yeah.
is-
I don't
I
give a
love
shit
the,
about anybody here, like at all.
Can we talk about the twist of Ben Foster's wife? Are we just gonna do
Oh, yeah.
spoilers?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let's just do the spoilers. Watch Pandorum if you haven't.
Yeah,
come
it's
back.
on Hulu. It's a good time.
It's incomprehensible, so this is no spoilers because
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like they do Ben Foster's like, when you wake up from hypersleep, you can't remember everything, and then you slowly like start to, which is a good like I lost my memory exposition device for a movie.
yeah,
But he remembers his wife, and it's the classic like dead wife, like
Super
pure
comic.
light in like laying on the bed, looking at him like lovingly.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, my wife is on the ship," and then later he remembers like, "Oh no, she's not. She just didn't go with me."
like my ass.
It's like your twist is that your wife's like, "Well, good luck in space, buddy. Don't give a shit."
And all
Are
of
you
that
like-
is him being like, "Oh yeah, she didn't come. Fuck." And then next
Yeah.
scene doesn't matter. That's like the end of the movie.
The best thing about it is that like the wife never looks like she's in love or even knows this person.
Right.
But second of all, they're like in a completely white room. They're all wearing white. Like you can't even see the walls because it's so futuristic and white. And then Ben Foster leaves, and he's in fucking Babylon AD.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like heavy rain dystopia. Yeah,
In the Mandalorian, all of a sudden, it's like, what the fuck happened between these two shots?
Where did you live? Why did you leave? Stay there, man.
Yeah,
Order some Uber Eats. Don't go out.
and it was so funny because when he was like, "Oh, my wife didn't come," I was like, "Oh yeah, you're looking for your wife."
Yeah, that was relevant.
there's
At all.
also this is also one of those things where they kind of present it like a twist, but this is the twist in every single like space movie almost, where it's like, Earth is gone. It's like, I kind of assumed Earth was gone just based on you
Yeah.
telling me that all the resources were gone and you're launching a giant spaceship to leave, you know?
Well, do you think that the writers of this were watching Wall-E and they're like, "What the fuck?
They left.
This is our movie." Like Ben Foster just walling it up and the shit.
Yeah. Packing up trash.
Well, Wally has more of a romantic arc than Ben Foster does. He
He
just
does. He finds
he
true
he
love.
does meet a woman, and she's like kind of a tough survivor, but they're just friends. There's not really more to it, I think.
He meets he meets the woman and like this guy who like I thought that the guy was just there to die right away, but he makes it almost to the end and like takes out the big
He
heavy.
does.
And I was like, oh, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's like this big mutant guy, right? And he's like the one. He's the main one killing everyone
Yeah.
and eating everyone. He's like
Split
leading the
face.
charge.
You know, he
Yeah.
reminds me of the leader from another I Am Legend,
Mars. Oh,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
where he controls all the
I'm
other
like-
ones.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and he's like the main villain, and it's kind of like Game of Thrones, where just like a random character takes him out. And you're like, oh, okay. It's like, oh, I guess this character was the main character, and then that character is immediately murdered
By a child.
by a child that he let go earlier.
Yeah.
And you're just watching it like, hey man, that was fucking cool, dude.
I
Like,
know.
I
That's
would've-
like that's almost like because there's even like you know,
it kind of felt like we were running Borderland. We're just like, just put it in there, it'll be funny.
Yeah.
they have like the scene because like they're all getting away, whatever. He had to restart the reactor, you know the drill. And then the boss monster literally has his spear, the guy's spear. He's like a Vietnamese, and so you know he can't communicate with the other crews.
It's like, oh, what?
Like he like the other guy's Vietnamese, so he never
Yeah,
talks to any of the other characters. So all you know.
That's what we can leave in.
All you know is that he likes fighting because he's the
He's
way
really
he
good
fights
at it.
all of them.
Yeah, he's the Asian quiet stereotype of a samurai.
And the boss shows up with the Vietnamese guy's spear and throws it to him so they can
Yeah.
have a one-on-one.
God.
And it's like Predator. It's like he's honorable,
Yeah.
but only in this one scene.
Yeah.
See, that's what I like. It is funny and very disrespectful that this guy's Vietnamese, but everything about him is like he acts like a Japanese samurai, but then he
Yeah.
also like does karate.
Yeah.
But I
A
will,
German
much like
made this
in the-
movie, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all
they
Much like in the Meg 2, if you can throw in karate into a movie that doesn't need karate like in any
at
way,
all.
you get like 3 points added to your score because that's fucking cool.
Perfect 5.
Like, good for you. Yes.
yeah, and it's a good scene. It's just one of those like
Brotherhood of the Wolf, you know, like good job, guys. I like it.
they also speaking of cool weapons, Ben Foster gets like a Mega Man style like hand blaster.
His little
Which
which
is-
hand cannon.
It's funny because when Norman Reedus is alive for like 1 minute, he's like, "That's not going to help." And
Yeah.
then later, he's just blasting the shit out of stuff. It's like, no, Norman Reedus, that would have helped a lot. Like,
Great.
This is why you're dead.
Yeah, dude, he was blowing up people's heads with that when he would like get in close range.
yeah, or like blasting like multiple ones back. You know?
Yeah. And he did like a wall
Also,
one
the
time
other-
that like blocked him from getting eaten by like the main bad guy. Like they had like a weird gate in between them. Do you guys remember that? That
Yeah.
was so cool.
Yeah.
That gun
Yeah.
fucking rocked.
I'm telling you, this movie had like a lot of cool elements that just didn't like mix correctly. I don't know.
I
It's-
know.
See, and then there's like that part at the beginning where when they meet the French girl and the Vietnamese guy, they like start running, but they're getting chased, and so the Vietnamese guy opens like one of the tubes,
Mhm.
and like it's to feed them. But then Ben Foster's like, no, they're gonna eat them, and I wanted like someone to be like, yeah, that's the whole point of what we're doing. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
You're wasting time. And then like he's like, no, they're gonna eat them, and then he's like, I know. And then Ben Foster just turns around and runs. It's like I guess he just needed
He's like,
acknowledgement.
oh,
yeah,
right,
he wanted to
yeah.
be seen.
Oh,
Also in that scene
okay.
too, like that's the scene where the French lady and the Vietnamese guy they meet right for the first time, as far as we know, and they start fighting immediately, and they're like
Yeah.
going to kill each other. It's like a fight to the
Yeah.
death. And then Ben Foster is just
Yeah.
like with one word, he's like, "Everyone, stop fighting. We should work as a team." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Yes, you're fucking right. We should."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Can you show me the room?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'll show you the room." And then the French lady's like, "You're going the wrong way." And then Ben Foster's like, "All right, let's go the other way." It's like, figured it out, got it.
It is like
It makes a lot of sense if you think that this is a weird spin-off of Mortal Kombat because they all act like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
they even
They even have fatalities.
because like
Yeah.
Ben Foster even talks down because there's a scene with like a crazy preacher and speaking of stereotypical post-apocalyptic characters,
Yeah.
the guy who strings them up and like explains everything to them, and he's clearly like gone insane. And he's like, "Oh, he turns out he's a cannibal. What you'd expect."
Mhm.
But then Ben Foster talks him down from being a cannibal, and he joins the team. That's never happened in any of these
And
movies.
they're
It's like,
cool with it.
damn.
There's no tension.
Yeah,
And I should say,
and
Ben
like,
Foster
yeah, there's no.
he doesn't give like big speeches.
No.
He's just like, "Come on."
He fights with logic and empathy. Very non-toxic masculine man.
It's literally like the cannibal. He goes like, "Hey, we got to turn the reactor on." The cannibal's like, "I don't believe you." And then Ben Foster's like, "Nah, but it is." And then the cannibal guy's like, "Okay,
Fucking A.
got it.
I didn't think
You
of it like that.
convinced me. I don't know how you did it." So yeah.
Oh, I will say,
It's
this
a
preacher
fun
guy though, I
time.
loved his art. Like his art where he like drew out like all the
Oh,
weird
his
creepy-
murals.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
I thought that was like
Yeah.
visually arresting.
I do also like how, if you think about it, some of these people have been there for like 100 years, like awake, like doing cave drawings and shit.
Yeah.
They've gone so insane. And so,
Oh yeah, they're
it's
cave
like-
drawings, of course.
yeah.
Yes. I didn't even really put that together, honestly. I just thought they looked cool.
But like,
Just,
there
you know.
is like, and this is also one of those things where it's like, man, you have so many elements in this movie, like the brain sickness, the monsters, and then you
Mhm.
find out from the preacher that the captain keeps waking up and like being a god king to like turn certain
Yeah.
people, and then just going back to sleep for like several hundred years.
Whenever it fucks up, yeah.
And then at the end, you find out he knows the captain, like on a first name basis. And you're like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
Yeah. He also find out that it's not the captain, it's the cam guy, and he like went crazy, and so he just turned into Dennis Quaid, and like
yeah, which is crazy because that guy would not grow up to
Yeah.
be Dennis Quaid. They don't even have the same hair, eye color,
Yeah,
or
not even
face.
close.
But
it's funny because like you could have almost picked any other actor. Like any other white male to play a young Dennis Quaid, and it would have kind of worked. They just managed to pick the one that it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work at all. But then you're like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the captain has a twist that doesn't really affect the overall plot or anything.
yeah, like if the captain
all.
wasn't in it, and it was just Ben Foster's to get to the control room, it would be the same movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
they're
This movie was
just
just
like,
Mad
like,
Libs.
the
It was just written in Mad Lib form.
yeah.
That's all it was.
It's like the only thing that the captain does is kill the cannibal guy, which is like really that's a plus for them. Like
Yeah.
they should have done that already.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
he does do it in like a brutal way too, where like because he's
Yeah.
injecting himself with something like to calm him down,
Sedative.
Yeah,
and then he just sticks the injection needle directly into the guy's eye to like.
Yeah.
yeah,
And they just do
like,
a
oh.
close to the eye shot where it's like, I don't need this, but I love it.
That's harsh.
yeah. Like good job for you
Yeah.
guys. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was just I don't. It just becomes. It almost felt like like if you read those old pop comics like the John Carter of Mars, like if like a modern version of that.
Yeah.
Like this kind of ENC Tales from the Crypt style,
Yeah.
like cosmic terror.
Right. Just
Just kind of-
schlocky.
It does.
Yeah.
It actually, right. We actually way back when we reviewed Babylon AD, and the
Yeah.
big twist there we found out was that everyone hated the director, and the director hated everyone. It was this like French director, and
It was a piece of
it kind of
shit.
shows in the movie. You're like, oh, no one's having fun. This movie almost feels like that, but they weren't like they were having fun.
Yeah,
It's like
totally.
okay, this
Yeah.
is like a schlocky sci-fi, but everyone's like on board for
Yeah,
the
they're kind of giving it
nonsense.
their all, even though it's like
Yeah.
so silly.
Like it's gonna be what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's kind of what sets it apart. It doesn't feel like I remember that movie that has Guy Pearce, and it's essentially just Escape from L.A. but on a spaceship.
Oh,
Like,
I
watching
forgot
that
about
movie- It kind of felt like this like they clearly knew what like that they were kind of ripping someone off and it's just lazy.
Yeah.
Where this one, like even though it's taking elements from other things, it doesn't feel lazy. It kind of feels like everyone put their all into it, even the director, the writer.
hmm
And so even though there's like tropes and stuff, you kind of feel like I know, but I feel like they know that it's a trope and they're just using that trope because they need it for the scene.
Yeah. There's even like parts like where they fell underneath grates and it looked like the
Yeah.
Star Wars stuff. Like it was just like not even trying to hide.
I mean,
Oh,
they
'cause
straight
Yeah.
up have the Descent blood pit at one point that they're hiding in as the cannibals
yeah.
like pass above
Yeah,
them. It's
yeah.
like, oh man. And again, I don't even think it's one of those. I think the director really was like, oh man, like that's a reference for the scholars. Like he wasn't doing a ripoff. He's like, no, this is like a beautiful homage. you know?
To The Descent. Came out last year. Or 2 years before.
I just saw it at a festival and it's fine.
It's
now.
gonna
The
be
Descent's
huge.
pretty old. I think it would have been like
3, maybe.
7 or 8 years.
We should do the Descent. Eventually.
Yeah. Well, what's the
That
one with
movie's
Kristen?
rough.
What with Pierce? Guy Pierce? What is that movie called? I forgot about that.
I don't
That came
remember.
out like right around the same time, right?
Yeah, I
I
think
know you're
so.
talking. I don't even know if I saw it.
I think I might have rented that
I
too,
did.
and then kind of half watched it.
I can look it up.
Lockout.
Yeah.
It's Lockout.
And then Repo Men came out with like Jude Law and Forrest Whitaker.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that in
That movie
that
theaters
was,
also-
that was
too.
pretty good. Yeah. Just like these like weird,
Yeah.
like kind of gross sci-fi movies came out like all around the same time.
Yeah, like kind of dirty and grungy,
Yeah.
you know. Especially now when you're watching, you know, like I was watching that new Jedi movie, and like everything just looks so clean. I just
Oh,
want
yeah.
like grime everywhere.
That's
Exactly,
where we
yeah.
grew up. We grew up in the '90s of like David Fincher and stuff. Like just everything looked gross. Like that's kind of what I still crave for
Yeah.
sure.
I know, and so it's cool to see that kind of
It was.
stuff.
I almost feel like Pitch Black was the big one that popularized it, and then everyone was kind of like, well, we have to have like the Pitch Black style, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
they're
did
kind
have
of
a
like,
good
oh,
feel
that
for
has to
Pitch
be
Black.
Because like Alien is definitely like dirty, but in a different way. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
It's
It was
not.
like,
Well,
I
I
wasn't
mean,
conscious of how grungy it was. in
It's
a
more
way.
like industrial, whereas these movies are like
I-
deliberately like grunge.
I feel like Escape from New York by John Carpenter was the originator
of the grunge. What's the year on that? What's the year on that versus Alien?
That's the guy. That's the 80s. Right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Alien might
it's
win.
80s.
Alien's the 70s.
Yeah, maybe Alien. Aliens is what 76?
Maybe. I can't remember. I want to say one of them is 79, but I also am just.
Maybe that's Alien. Because I think Star Wars came out first, and Alien kind of switched things up a little bit. This has been the Alien Squad.
Yeah. Now that we've veered off into a wormhole to better sci-fi films, but don't miss out on
I know.
Pandorum.
But Pandorum is still good.
Yes.
And that's kind of the thing. It kind of feels like I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day. There was like this rom-com with Emma Roberts, and I was like looking at my letterbox, and I gave it 5 stars or the highest number of stars, and I was like, it's not that it was like the best movie I've ever seen. It's that it didn't do anything wrong. Like
Yeah.
I have no reason
Yeah,
to like
Get all
hate on
the
it.
points that you would expect from a rom com. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I don't feel good giving it 5 stars, but I would feel bad if I gave it anything but 5 stars.
Right.
Because it just like it didn't do anything wrong. Like it's innocent.
Yeah, it just wasn't The Godfather, you know?
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah. Sometimes you need these movies like The Meg and this one
Exactly.
and The Empty Space to watch and like enjoy.
Not everything's a roast chicken. Some things gotta be.
You know what's funny about this too?
Sometimes just eat breast chicken.
To show that even Hulu doesn't care about this movie, the description's like 6,000 survivors or 60,000 survivors are launched on a spaceship, and it's like, no, it's not. It's 16,000. They say it at the beginning of the movie. The person writing the description didn't even double check.
Listen. As someone who's reading those descriptions, sometimes stuff happens, bro. You can't check everything all the
You
time.
can go back and check for Pandorum. It's no one's
Yeah.
priority. Especially not Ben Foster.
That's why, like, you see, like, you think that putting the movie out is the scariest part? No, it's like writing the synopsis and being like, did I spell this name right, please?
Yeah.
Like, is my main character named John or James?
I know. Well, because you think about, like, imagine if, I mean, both of you guys, like, imagine if you looked at the back of the Empty Space box and it says, like, William Durdock. You'd be like, what the fuck?
Like, my name is Willie
get it.
Murder, according to Twitter.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
Willie Murder on Blue Sky.
Yeah, on Blue Sky now.
We're on Blue Sky, guys. Go over there and
Yeah,
make it
it's-
less boring.
Get
Say-
invited, losers.
Say hi to us and the other 12 people on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Arguing.
Say hi to us and the other nerds, the theater kids. And
They're done
Oh.
with X.
I do get it though. The and obviously it's not like the director of this movie wasn't the one writing the description for Hulu, but
I just watched that.
kind of like you're talking about, like once you've actually like put a movie out there and like had the premiere and everything, you almost want to put it from your mind. You're like, no, I need to move forward. I can't
Yeah.
keep like thinking
Yeah.
about this.
yeah. Oh, I know.
Move
one
on,
I know
bro.
I might know a little bit about that one.
You do it to yourself every week at around 4
I know.
p.m.
We got another week, guys, and then we'll switch it up. Then I'll start selling them all as a
Yeah,
pack.
then we're gonna do a Jaws week, and then we'll do like a Pizza Guy week.
We do. Oh, by the
Pizza
way,
guy.
okay. So I don't know when these are gonna air. I think we're already leaning into September, but we do have to think about what we want to do. And I think I know, and I think I might say it on the podcast just so we have to do it.
Well, you're recording right now.
Guys, what do you think of The Exorcist?
And that's not really an underrated film. It's one of the highest.
No, not The Exorcist 1. We can watch
Oh,
The
the
Exorcist
new one that looks
prequels,
bad.
both of them, because, okay, so here's the story about The Exorcist beginning. They had originally hired some director, I forget who it is, to make this movie, and he made like this psychological thriller, and then they watched it and they're like, no, we want more devil shit. So the completed movie was done, they threw it away, and they hired Rennie Harlan with the same actors to do like their version of the movie that's more action packed and more Conjuring like. And so then they're like, that movie bombed, so they're like, okay, fuck it. And they released the other movie.
Damn.
So there's two prequels to The Exorcist.
I think I've only
With the
seen
same
one of these. One of them have
cast.
Skarsgård in it. A Stellan Skarsgård.
They both have Skarsgård.
Oh,
It's so
I've
weird.
seen one of those.
That's like what they did with Rogue One, but then they didn't release the original version.
I know,
Wait,
like,
what?
it's such a weird.
The Tony Gilroy movie?
Yeah, they reshot like 90% of it after it was already almost done.
I
That's
didn't
why
know
if you
that.
watch the original trailer, you're like, none of these shots are in the movie. None of
Yeah,
these.
well,
Well, maybe take it
came out
back
pretty good.
to Kitchen Boys. Oh yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't like Rogue One? You're the only people I've ever met who don't like Rogue One.
I
Leave
don't.
it to
I like
YouTube.
all the flying. I like all the flying parts.
Man, that shit was fucking spycraft. What are you talking about?
Let's not get into a 30-minute discussion about Rogue One.
Yeah.
We just had a
We're on
30-minute
the
discussion of
positive.
Pandorum.
We're talking about a much better film, Pandorum, right now.
Talking about
Wow, there
we're
are so
taking
many
it down
gauntlets
to
happening right now. I
Pandora.
can't handle it.
But yeah, I think that was good. We kind of went on a bunch of tangents, but Pandorum's worth watching. Ben Foster
Yeah.
is good. You should watch him. He's married to Kate Mora.
You actually know what's crazy about this
I didn't
too?
know
What I didn't find out till I
It's a
was,
good couple.
I was reading the trivia.
Attractive couple, man.
This was supposed to be the first in a trilogy, but if you see the end of this movie, you're like, what would it even be?
Yeah.
Be a completely different
Like-
movie.
Yeah.
Which I was.
Because it's literally they're not on spoilers. They're not on the ship at the end of the movie. That's done. Like
Yeah, They move
the
on.
monsters are all dead. You know.
Mhm. Only humans.
Also, you find out that at the whole time for like 100 years they've been at the bottom of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Like
That was, like,
900
the
years,
final
but
twist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and then
'Cause I was
they,
like,
they exit the pods, and then it's
see, and like I was watching that part, and I was like, "That's clever."
yeah, no, that's a cool twist. That's almost like a Star Trek style ending.
Yeah.
But it's
Very
like
balanced.
hopeful. But again, the sequel would have to be completely different. So I don't know why they thought they were getting one. Cause
I mean, they could make it like, because there are a bunch of people that are essentially like infecting a new planet. You know, like they're gonna have to go and like
Right.
start
I
stealing
mean,
resources.
I
and, like,
agree they'll have trials and tribulations. I
It's probably
just
other people
don't.
out
The whole like moody space horror
yeah,
movie
it's
doesn't. It's not going to be that.
No. Absolutely not.
Because the very last shot is them going like,
There's a rainbow.
Tannis year one population 1,213. Like it's
Yeah.
only like 1,000 people, and it's like okay, that's like a cool ending to leave on. But I didn't think you thought you were going to show me more of this.
Yeah.
You know.
I
So,
agree.
Yeah, do we really need more? Did we need?
Did we
Absolutely
need
not.
like 5 Hunger Games movies? I got the gist.
Right.
Yeah, we did, and I need the new one, Hunger Games:
I'll go see it.
Battle to Pandorum.
I think also this is my last gripe about Pandorum, but whenever they were exiting the ship, like the way that I mean, I know actually I just kind of like ruined my own gripe, but the way that they're exiting the pods is like it's supposed to be in space, so all the pods would just go out normally. But since they're coming out of the ocean, the pods are like popping out of the ocean and landing very haphazardly on the water surface, and then their doors are just flying open like just everywhere. And it's like, you know, that final population should have been like 13,000 like 1,300, but like
Yeah,
there are casualties from that exit procedure.
Oh yeah, you're just
Not
waking
good.
up
Also-
disoriented,
Yeah,
covered in
drowning.
water, yeah.
Everyone
and not only
fucked.
that, but the ship. Okay, so a ship is like a round.
Yeah,
Like, okay, a ship is like
side.
So pods are gonna be on every side.
Yeah.
Of it. And if it's stuck in the
Some of those
ocean,
guys are,
all
yeah.
these pods are gonna go bam and explode.
You're not supposed to think about that.
Yeah,
You're-
they got
Which is the
fucked up.
worst. Which is those guys. That's the worst way
That's
to die.
the sequel. Is all the people just like
You're
shots
like-
of them dying.
Yeah, you're up for like a second long enough to know that you made it to the planet, and then your brain explodes.
I could see them being like, "Oh, the mutants adapted to the ocean, and now they're coming out of the water." I don't know.
Yeah.
They could pull. They could pull.
Merciful.
Some, I'm just saying.
No, what they should
They're not
do
gonna
is just
do
make it a regular alien movie.
Yeah,
Be
Oh,
oh,
like there's
more
aliens already on the planet. Yeah.
yeah, because
can always
it's
do
good for
aliens.
life, so there has to be life there. Okay, and they're going to be mad at the humans for trying to infect their land.
Yeah,
District
Ben
9 shit.
Foster, call us, bro. We'll
We
make
got
you a good sequel. I'll direct it.
Mhm. Pandoro.
William will make the music. We'll all write
We'll
it.
figure it out.
We'll figure it out. My grandma will make enchiladas for lunch one day.
It's like, hey, why does the planet of Tanis now look like Andrew's grandma's house again? This is weird.
They're like, wow, the aliens built this house to look like a 70s house.
This is a hotbed for
Obsessed with
supernatural
us, bro,
alien
yeah.
activity.
Ben Foster, we've successfully created 1970s El Paso. Perfect. The best culture.
They're like the aliens. They look like just like our Mexicans. There's a
The race of abuelas.
yeah. Good job.
Um,
Good job, Pandora. 2 colors.
Yeah, we got you.
But yeah, Josh, any last thoughts on our trip to Pandorum? Oh, again, Pandorum is not a ship.
Right.
it's
a
your
mental-
brain messing up,
psychological state.
which does not happen to Ben Foster. It happens. To
Yeah.
somebody. He thinks it's going to, and then it doesn't.
It almost could have been called
Okay,
false Pandorum.
I figured out why Pandorum is good is because it's a movie where scenes have the biggest stakes, but the overall plot just has no stakes at all. Nothing matters, but everything is great.
Yeah.
It's a winning
Yeah.
combination.
That's a good summary. No, yeah, like I said, it's good if you're in the mood for sci-fi horror and you've already seen like Alien and Event Horizon and The Descent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're on Hulu and you're bored,
You know,
you don't know what to watch.
Yeah.
Halloween
I chose
season's
it.
coming up, so you're gonna want to watch horror movies. So
Yeah. It's not a bad
And
one.
speaking of that, we'll be taking it to Jerusalem, wherever The Exorcist is made. But thank you guys. Watch The Empty Space. Watch Borderland. Watch Last Ones. Watch our other podcasts. We'll see you next time on the Pandorum Squad.